Okay, up next though, after the whole, and you know what the crazy thing is, John? Like I said, it was the match of the night, but here's the thing: it wasn't the match of the night by an absolute landslide. It was a great match, and it was definitely match of the night, I think. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, this was the match of the night, and it didn't really have any competition because every other match was like 8 minutes or less. No, there was another match tonight that was freaking great.
Which was
Not next, I don't think. Maybe is it? Maybe no. Next was the Bray Wyatt promo.
where he pretty much says
I,
that
this was almost the heat of the night for me because it feels like he's kind of going back to the vague stuff again.
yeah, I mean he's in a way is kind of continuing what he's been saying because he's saying, we're yin and yang.
You know what,
I'm
dude?
a part of you. What was
I'm
that?
glad. I'm glad that we're taking the time to talk about this because I have something that I really want to say when you're done.
Oh well, dude, I was just gonna summarize it. It's Bray just pretty much saying that him and Roman have this weird relationship that only he understands. He's gonna make Roman Reigns understand it. So yeah, no, I want to get to what you want to say.
Bray Wyatt is literally the embodiment of the IWC.
Okay, that's an interesting thesis. Let's build on that. Where
Uh,
does that come from?
Specifically Reddit,
Okay.
specifically like the Squared Circle subreddit.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've pulled out gems from them before. So, but how does it all fit together? I'm still not seeing the big picture here.
Okay, let's go down the list. Overweight Hawaiian shirt fedora, check check check. Neckbeard, check.
For
To
whatever
take it a
reason,
step
yeah.
further though, that's just appearance. That's just appearance. Let's go into the personality. Passive aggressive, thinks he's being deep when he's really not. Hates Roman Reigns. Check check check.
Wow. Did you just torch the entire IWC right there? I think you just did.
No,
Oh,
not the entire IWC. Again, I'm saying specifically the Squared Circle subreddit.
specifically, well, yes. Then the Squared Circle subreddit just got torched. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And I'm sure that not everyone on the Squared Circle subreddit fits that description. But like, if the Squared Circle subreddit had a mascot, it would be Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, there you go. Wow. It's funny because I don't even know how to feel about this feud because I know I've been saying for I think the past 2 weeks the potential, but there was no mention of the daughter or anything. There was no head games done there. And again, I know WWE has no problem bringing children onto the. I mean, they did that phenomenal segment with the choir, so you know that they have no qualms. But then it's just back to Roman, you and we have this relationship. He's saying, I'm like, I don't care about that. What are you doing to his family? How are you messing with him psychologically? I think the tragedy of Bray Wyatt lately for me, and you know that when Bray Wyatt, when I learned of him and I'm watching the clips and everything, I became a really big fan of his. I was really into his work. But he's a guy that you think should be at the apex of psychological warfare, and it's just I don't feel it, man. I don't really even see, and this is the worst thing you can say about a character like Wyatt. I don't see the intimidation factor with Bray. I really don't and clearly
Again, to me, it all comes back to two things. First of all, he's talking a bunch of nonsense that can be really easily shrugged off, unless,
right.
again, it comes back to the daughter thing. Because if you're threatening someone's kid, like I even understand, like I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago when he was just talking to a chair and Roman Reigns freaked out to the point that he ran to the back. Like, I guess that's almost justifiable because when somebody's threatening your family, you don't even think like logically. You just emotionally get overridden and want to help.
Right.
So that I can get behind, but with Bray Wyatt just talking all this nonsense, yeah, it really makes him almost seem like a not comedy. Like it's hard to take him seriously because like what is he even saying? Like he's just talking, and even though if you would like transcribe his promos and write down all of the words that he's saying and really think about it, you could probably come up with a much deeper meaning and something that actually makes a lot of sense.
And
But the
see,
casual, regular, everyday viewer, and even some of the most hardcore fans like us, we aren't that freaking dedicated that we're going to sit down and try and figure out what this guy's actually saying. We're just going to hear him talking all this nonsense. It'll go in one ear and out the other, and we'll be like, wow, Bray Wyatt's getting really vague, and I don't even like it that much anymore.
and see, that is definitely part of the problem. I feel like I could overcome it so much more if I felt like he had a bigger splash with his actions. Like, we're
Yeah.
talking about a character here. I remember I was so excited the day, now you're talking many, many moons ago. But when I reported excitedly, oh, Bray Wyatt's been the subject of 2 Forbes articles, I thought that was so cool that people that couldn't be any more outside the sphere of pro wrestling were taking an interest in this guy. And I don't want to say that I've fallen out of Bray Wyatt, because if I fell out of love with him, I wouldn't be talking about him this long. But, it really is a shame to see where the character is, because you start this storyline and I'm like, oh, we're raising stakes. We have a more direct, a more sinister Bray Wyatt. This is what's needed. And again, I just feel like they're not 100% committing. This should be a guy that should be a completely different flavor of heel from your Seth Rollins and your Kevin Owens and that kind of cloth.
He is.
And he is. He certainly is. But he doesn't have the same potency, I think, as those heels, and that's a problem to me, because I feel like he should be that terror.
You know
Not
what I was actually thinking when he was cutting this promo tonight?
What's that?
Can't you stop talking and just beat somebody, please?
Me, and I think that's another thing, too. Ashton, it's funny, because when you say that, it reminds me of, I think you're familiar with Stephen King's It, right?
Somewhat, yeah. I'm more
Vaguely.
familiar with the movie than the show.
Than the book. Yeah, and that's fine, as long as you're familiar with the movie, because, that's where I was going anyway. Because the complaint with the movie, and I remember the Nostalgia Critic review of it, which was hilarious, so many people were talking about how, maybe at the time that it came out, because I think it was like the late 90s, it was scary then, but if you look at it today, like, all this clown does is intimidate people and make balloons float and just prey on their fears, but he doesn't actually kill them. He doesn't actually do anything until maybe like the final act, when he goes in this final form as like this huge spider. Now, granted, the book says, oh, when the fear is heightened, that's when they're more delicious.
Right.
And I can understand that, but that's never explained in the movie. And he doesn't even do that much feasting anyway, so I don't think that flies. Same thing with Bray Wyatt. You can say, oh, well, messing with them mentally makes it that much better when I strike or when I prey upon it, and that's great, but you have to actually strike. You have to actually do something. I'm all for Bray cutting great promos. For God's sakes, when he was really cutting great promos in Emmy Engaged, I called him the maestro of the microphone. That was a name I came up for him. But it's not going to matter if you're not intimidating through your actions.
Yeah.
And you and I are just left to a point where it's like, come on already. And again, I hate to say it, but I feel like with guys like Kevin Owens, even though it's apples and oranges with the type of heel persona that they're carrying, like, Kevin Owens fulfills my needs. Like, I don't need Bray Wyatt to kind of do anything now. He's just kind of there because Kevin Owens, I feel like, is schooling everybody how it's done. And that's really sad, because Bray is just such a great gimmick. It's just got no gas for me right now. Maybe other people, maybe a commenter will come up and be like, you guys are being way too harsh, and here's why. And I'd welcome that, but for me, just really sucks.
I guess, you know what, though, dude? Again, kind of working on the point that I made a few minutes ago about how I just want him to shut up and beat somebody. This is kind of like the Dust Brothers from September of this past year issue, where they're talking about how, they're talking about the Cosmic Key and all this crap, and they were just doing promos for like 2 straight months, and they didn't ever get in the ring. And by the time they did get in the ring, we were already sick of them because we had already heard them talk for 2 months, and we just didn't care.
Exactly.
That's Bray Wyatt, except not for 2 months, more like for 2 years, it seems like.
I think that was a perfect parallel to make, and I think it's even more detrimental.
Dude, you know what? I just thought of something. Why was Bray Wyatt not the one that pinned Neville tonight instead of Sheamus?
I know, right? That's actually a great point. You could have had him beat Neville and give him some momentum going into Battleground. I don't know, dude. And I think your whole point, because again, I thought that was such a great parallel, I think it's even more detrimental.
Another option would be for him to replace Kane in all these retarded tag team matches.
Well, it would certainly give him a higher profile spot, and especially considering they interacted with Roman Reigns tonight. Yeah. You kind of promote your pay-per-view.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, Ambrose is interacting with Rollins. Why would you not put Bray Wyatt in the match against Reigns so that you can have, like, the tag match where 2 feuds interacting with each other?
Exactly.
But no, freaking Kane needs ring time. Are you kidding me right now?
And it's so weird because I don't know if in WWE's mind, and this is going to kind of interweave with the point that I wanted to make, where it's like, oh, if we give him like too many matches, it'll kind of damage the mystique. But I feel like that's what they're doing with all his talking. Because I
Yeah.
was even going to say, with the
I mean,
whole
if you
story,
want Mystique, you've got it with Brock Lesnar, with The Undertaker, with Triple H, guys that don't show up every week. I mean,
right?
like the secret to having a Mystique isn't not being in a ring every week; it's not being around every week.
I almost feel like I want them to go not completely to the opposite with Bray's character, but start to move away from him talking so much because I'd rather,
Yes, I was
yeah,
thinking that too. Like, he's done all this talking for so long. I want to see, and then this is almost like a challenge for him because it almost seems like his talking has been a crutch for him since he showed up. I want to see him become almost like a silent but deadly Roman Reigns type killer, where he maybe he just shows up, says run, blows the candle out, and then gets into the ring and kills people. Like, that's what he should be. But all of these, and the crazy thing is, I'm asking for Bray Wyatt to stop cutting promos. 2 years ago, I loved Bray Wyatt's promos. I've just seen enough of them.
I've not only have I seen enough of them too, but if that argument's not doing it for you guys, I mean, here's something I just thought of. What's the function of these promos? Because you could say to intimidate, but again, they're so vague you can't extrapolate any intimidation from them. And really, that vagueness used to serve to building a family. He has no family now. I could understand the vagueness and the ambiguity because, it makes him, again, like you said, I know you meant it as a joke to the Squared Circle subreddit, but I think part of the whole cult mentality is, oh, look how wise our prophet is or our leader is or whatever. Bray doesn't have to impress anybody. Bray doesn't have to persuade or indoctrinate anybody. If you have him go out on his own, don't have him speak. Just have him blow out that lamp
You know what,
and
dude? I
do
think
the
that Bray, if Bray, well, I shouldn't even say if because it seems inevitable at this point. So I'm just gonna say when. When Bray loses this feud to Roman Reigns, it should shock him to his core to the point that he stops talking and he starts just putting his head down and wrestling. And when he gets in the ring, though, there's a switch that turns on and he just kills people.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think that's the direction we need to go. I'm so glad we had this discussion out because I can tell Bray's promos again have been bothering you. They've certainly, been bothering me, and it's heartbreaking because you and I at one time again both really loved his promos. But I just
You
think
know
it's
what?
time.
What they really need to do though is build it up so that Bray's promos feel special again. Because right now, and that's the thing, like Bray's promos felt so special at first because they were new, and then he went away, and when he came back, it seemed cool because again, it's like they were new again. But now, it's like we've been getting these same style of promos for so long that we aren't. It almost feels like we can't appreciate it, even if it's good. It's hard to appreciate it. So if you have him just shut up and not talk for a while, in 2 or 3 months when he opens his mouth, it's going to mean something, and people are going to be enthralled with him again.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the beauty of this whole thing. It's not going to take much time. I mean, I think about the whole Jeritrol, the second day of 2012, Chris
Yep.
Jericho. The moment he said in the first sentence, he said, "This Sunday at the Royal Rumble, people lost their minds." Now, obviously, there were other extraneous circumstances to that. He was trolling the audience, that and the other. But people are so used to Bray serenading them with their words that when he deprives them of that and then he goes back, dude, it's going to be an explosion. Whatever his first sentence even is, they'll pop.
You know what would be amazing is if he, like, I don't know if you remember this, but for a period of time in NXT, he actually wore like a butcher's mask.
Right.
Like he had like a butcher's apron with like a mask over it, over his face. I think it would be cool if he would get almost like a Hannibal Lecter mask.
Yeah.
Like the thing that just goes over your nose and mouth. You can still see his eyes and everything. And it like he loses to Roman Reigns and then he just goes crazy and he starts wearing the butcher's apron to the ring and the Hannibal Lecter mask to wrestle. And maybe even just to the ring. He can take that off when he gets in the ring, but I would prefer it if he would keep it in the ring because it kind of gives him that intimidating, almost like the Kane look, where he's just kind
Right.
of a scary looking guy. And then like you almost build up the mystique of like, oh my god, this guy was already absolutely batshit crazy, and now he's gone even further into insanity. What could possibly be going on with him? And you get people asking questions like, what's going on with Bray Wyatt? What's going on with this guy? And he's not talking. He's not talking. He's not giving us answers. What's going on? And then when he finally does decide to take the mask off and open his mouth, everyone is like, he's going to have the crowd by the balls.
I think that is such an easy fix that the really dispiriting thing is I can't
It's
see
never
WWE
gonna
taking that
happen.
route. Exactly. And it's a shame because you can't have Bray keep losing these feuds and not progress in some way character-wise because of those losses. And, WWE thinks that he can, and clearly, at least from our reactions, they're mistaken. But I don't want to dwell on this subject anymore. I think we had quite a discussion about it. Please, guys, let us know what you think about it, because I know that may be a hot button for some listeners. So let us know what you think about the whole Bray Wyatt dilemma. But after that, Ashton, what happened next?